On the night of October 26, 1942, at 2:30 a.m., Staff Sergeant Mitchell Page was positioned at his water-cooled Browning machine gun, his fingers gripping the cold wooden stock as he waited for the inevitable assault. From the dense, oppressive darkness of the jungle, waves of Japanese soldiers emerged, advancing with deliberate purpose. In the humid air, the sharp crack of Arisaka rifles punctuated the stillness, signaling the beginning of yet another attack. But this time, there was something different. Among the familiar sounds of American Springfields firing their bolt-action rounds, a new rhythm began to blend in, a rapid, continuous series of semi-automatic shots. The reason for this change was simple. The U.S. Army's 164th Infantry Regiment had arrived in Guadalcanal just over 2 weeks earlier, on October 13, 1942. This was a key moment in the Pacific War, marking the first use of a revolutionary new weapon in battle, the M1 Garand rifle. For the Japanese soldiers, this was an unexpected challenge. They were about to face the first large-scale use of semi-automatic rifles in the Pacific theater, and with it, a shift in the dynamics of infantry combat that would forever alter the nature of warfare. The American forces, having already adapted their strategies to meet the demands of jungle combat, now had a weapon capable of delivering far more effective fire than their Japanese counterparts. This new firepower came at a critical time. The Japanese army had long relied on close-quarters assaults and banzai charges, tactics designed to overwhelm defenders through sheer force and speed. These tactics had been honed over years of brutal warfare in China, where they had been devastatingly effective against poorly equipped Chinese forces armed with Mauser rifles. The traditional infantry battle of World War I, in which soldiers fired their bolt-action rifles and then manually cycled the bolt between shots, was not suitable for the dense jungles of the Pacific, where engagements often took place at distances under 100 yards. A trained soldier with a bolt-action rifle, such as the M1 903 Springfield, could fire up to 15 aimed shots per minute, but each shot required a pause to operate the bolt, lifting it, pulling it back, pushing it forward, and locking it into place. In that brief span of time, an attacking enemy could cover significant ground, advancing rapidly through the dense undergrowth. This presented a severe challenge to defenders who were limited in the number of shots they could take before needing to reload. The Japanese, with their own Arisaka rifles, either the Type 38 or Type 99, faced similar limitations. Their soldiers, like the Americans, could fire only as fast as they could cycle the bolt, a tactic that became increasingly ineffective against more mobile, well-equipped adversaries. The Japanese response to this weakness had been the development of tactics designed to exploit the inherent limitations of bolt-action warfare. These included night attacks and aggressive bayonet charges, which relied on the shock value of massed infantry attacks to break through defensive lines. However, in response to these challenges, the United States had begun a quiet revolution in military armament years earlier. At Springfield Armory, Massachusetts, engineers had been working since 1936 on a new kind of rifle, one that would completely overhaul the doctrine of infantry combat. The result was the M1 Garand rifle, a semi-automatic rifle that would fire 8 rounds before needing to be reloaded. Unlike the M1 903 Springfield, which required the operator to manually cycle the bolt after each shot, the M1 Garand could fire multiple rounds without a break in the action, allowing soldiers to maintain a continuous rate of fire. This was a major advantage in close-quarters combat, where every second counted, and it allowed American forces to counter the Japanese banzai charges with greater effectiveness. By 1936, the M1 Garand had officially replaced the M1 903 Springfield as the standard-issue rifle for the United States military. It wasn't simply an upgrade in firepower. It represented a fundamental change in how infantry forces would approach battle. In terms of industrial and strategic importance, the M1 Garand also symbolized the increasing importance of mass production in modern warfare. The United States understood that the ability to produce vast quantities of superior weapons would be a decisive factor in the outcome of the war, particularly in the Pacific, where supply lines were long and logistical challenges were constant. The battle at Henderson Field on Guadalcanal, therefore, was not just a clash of soldiers. It was the moment when the M1 Garand proved itself in combat, fundamentally altering the nature of infantry engagements. While the Japanese forces advanced with their traditional bolt-action rifles, the American defenders now had a weapon that could deliver a steady stream of fire, forcing the Japanese to rethink their tactics on the fly. The M1 Garand was more than just a weapon. It was a game-changer that helped the United States establish a critical advantage in the brutal close-quarters warfare of the Pacific theater. Germany's focus on innovation was evident in the development of the MG-34 machine gun, a groundbreaking weapon that reflected their commitment to technological superiority. Meanwhile, Japan made significant investments in its naval aviation, yet the United States was on the verge of demonstrating a crucial point, that the individual infantrymen, when adequately equipped, could tip the scales of warfare. The man behind one of the most iconic firearms of World War II, the M1 Garand, was John C. Garand, a man whose path to innovation was anything but conventional. Born on January 1, 1888 in St. Remy, Quebec, Garand's early life was rooted in humble beginnings. At age 11, his family moved to Connecticut, where young John took on work as a bobbin boy in a textile mill at just 12 years old. However, his mechanical aptitude was evident from a young age, and by the time he was 14, he had designed and patented a screwjack. Garand's formal career began in 1919 when he joined the Springfield Armory, a key facility for firearm production. It was here that he began work on developing a semi-automatic rifle, though his early designs struggled to gain widespread attention. Despite initial setbacks, Garand's perseverance in refining his concept ultimately led to a revolutionary breakthrough, a gas-operated mechanism that would set the M1 Garand apart from other firearms of its time. The core of Garand's design was its ability to use the expanding gases from a fired cartridge to automatically cycle the action, eject the spent casing, and load a fresh round into the chamber, all without manual reloading. This system allowed for rapid, successive shots, a significant leap forward in firearm technology. The M1 Garand was a feat of engineering, weighing a manageable 9.5 pounds with a sturdy barrel and capable of semi-automatic fire using an 8-round en-bloc clip. The rifle's gas system operated in less than 1/10 of a second, providing a cycle of rapid fire that was previously unheard of in infantry rifles. The tactical advantages were immediately clear. In contrast to the bolt-action rifles of the era, which could manage about 15 aimed rounds per minute, the M1 Garand could deliver 40 to 50 accurate rounds in the same time frame, tripling the rate of fire. More importantly, the soldier firing the M1 Garand did not have to break their shooting stance or sight picture between shots. Each pull of the trigger launched a .30-06 Springfield round with a muzzle energy of 2,800 foot-pounds, capable of penetrating up to 20 inches of white pine at 100 yards. The production numbers for the M1 Garand tell a powerful story of American industrial mobilization. Initial production at Springfield Armory began in September 1937 with a modest output of 10 rifles per day. However, by 1939, the factory ramped up production to 100 rifles daily, and by December 1941, nearly 30,000 M1 Garands had been produced. This was only the beginning, as the United States prepared for the scale of production required to equip millions of soldiers. Garand's deep understanding of both mechanics and manufacturing played a crucial role in the success of the M1 Garand. His expertise in industrial machinery allowed him not only to design the rifle itself, but also the machines needed to manufacture it efficiently. This dual knowledge would prove indispensable as the United States geared up for wartime production. The importance of the M1 Garand became especially apparent during key battles of World War II. One such example was the Battle of Henderson Field on the night of October 24th to 25th, 1942, often remembered by those who fought in it as Dugout Sunday. This pivotal battle saw Lieutenant Colonel Louis Chesty Puller's 1st Battalion of the 7th Marines hold a crucial sector of the perimeter in Guadalcanal, where they faced an overwhelming Japanese assault. The Marines, primarily armed with the M1903 Springfield bolt-action rifles, were running low on ammunition and enduring mounting casualties. Reinforcements were called for, and they arrived in the form of the 3rd Battalion, 164th Infantry Regiment, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Robert K. Hall. As the two units merged, Private First Class Leonard Stefanik of the 164th Infantry later recalled the moment they joined forces, underscoring the impact of having new, more effective weapons like the M1 Garand in their arsenal. The rifle, now a symbol of American firepower, would go on to be an indispensable tool in the hands of infantrymen throughout the remainder of the war. In these crucial moments, Garand's design did more than just enhance firepower. It changed the way battles were fought, allowing soldiers to engage more effectively and with greater efficiency. The legacy of the M1 Garand and its inventor, John C. Garand, remains a testament to the power of innovation, precision, and the determination to meet the needs of the soldiers who would fight the most significant conflict in history. The Marines observing the M1 Garand rifles couldn't hide their mixture of curiosity and skepticism. To them, these weapons were unfamiliar, as they had never encountered M1s in combat. Some even doubted the practicality of the semi-automatic system, concerned that it might lead to wasteful use of ammunition. At 2100 hours, the Japanese artillery began its preparatory bombardment. Intelligence reports had suggested that General Masao Maruyama's Sendai Division had assembled a force of over 7,000 soldiers for the attack. The Japanese strategy was simple: overwhelm the American defenses with wave after wave of infantry charges. Each wave would attempt to exploit the reloading delays of bolt-action rifles, hoping to create gaps in the defenders' fire and exploit them. In response, Lieutenant Colonel Puller and Major Hall coordinated efforts to ensure that American forces were well positioned for the battle. Soldiers from the 164th Infantry, equipped with M1 Garands, were placed alongside the Marines in foxholes, creating a cohesive defense. Army rifle squads armed with M1s were stationed to provide mutual support by covering interlocking fields of fire with the Marine units. At 2200 hours, the first wave of Japanese soldiers attacked. Emerging from the jungle in formations resembling companies, they charged with rifles fixed with Type 30 bayonets. Their officers led the assault, wielding traditional katana swords. As they approached, the unmistakable battle cry of "Banzai" echoed across the American lines. The Marines responded with disciplined fire from their Springfield 1903 bolt-action rifles, sending a steady rhythm of shots into the oncoming waves. But in the midst of this fire, the M1 Garands of the 164th Infantry made a noticeable difference. The riflemen using M1s did not need to pause to manually work the bolt after every shot. Their ability to maintain rapid, aimed fire, 8 rounds per clip, fired as fast as the shooter could pull the trigger, quickly became evident. Each round found its mark in the dense formations of Japanese soldiers. The unmistakable sound of the M1's clip ejecting, the distinct ping as it was reloaded, was heard as soldiers of the 164th reloaded in under 3 seconds, immediately resuming their fire. Corporal Joseph F. Leo, a member of the 164th, would later testify to the overwhelming firepower that helped defeat the Japanese. The Japanese came in waves, just like we had been told they would, but they were unprepared for the volume of fire we could sustain. They expected gaps in our fire, but there were none. It was a constant, overwhelming barrage. By 23:30 hours, the Japanese launched their second wave, now in even greater numbers. Japanese tactical doctrine dictated that each new wave would capitalize on the exhaustion and dwindling ammunition supplies of the defenders. However, the situation had shifted in the Americans' favor. The M1 Garand's semi-automatic capability outclassed the slower boat-action Springfield rifles of the Marines, enabling the defenders to maintain a steady, uninterrupted flow of fire. As the Japanese pressed on with wave after wave of assaults, they were met with relentless opposition. By dawn on October 25th, the result was clear. More than 2,200 Japanese soldiers lay dead in front of Henderson Field. American casualties, in contrast, were astonishingly low, with fewer than 100 killed or wounded. The superior firepower provided by the 164th Infantry was a critical factor in this success. Their contribution earned them the admiration and respect of the Marine Corps. The unit was later awarded the prestigious Navy Presidential Unit Citation for its role in the defense. Among the soldiers of the 164th, one individual had already made his mark on history. On October 13th, Corporal Kenneth S. Fubar became the first U.S. Army soldier to die in combat after the attack on Pearl Harbor. He was struck by shrapnel from a Japanese bomb as he landed on the beach, just days before the battle at Henderson Field. The victory on Guadalcanal sent ripples of shock through both American and Japanese military circles. The success of the American defense, aided by the firepower of the M1 Garand, not only reshaped the battlefield tactics of the Pacific theater, but also altered the course of the war in the Pacific. Urgent communications arriving from commanders throughout the Pacific forced Army ordnance to push for an immediate surge in the output and distribution of the M1 Garand. In response, Springfield Armory abandoned its conventional work schedule and shifted into an uninterrupted, around-the-clock manufacturing rhythm. The transformation was dramatic. Production halls were reconfigured for continuous operation, and thousands of employees who had once built everyday civilian products, typewriters, sewing machines, and similar goods, were reassigned to assemble the components of what would become the standard rifle of the U.S. infantry. By the middle of 1943, the Armory's performance reached heights that would have seemed unrealistic only a few years earlier. Springfield was turning out well over 4,000 rifles every day, a rate unmatched in its history. The pressure on a single factory, however, made a second production source unavoidable. Consequently, in 1940, the government secured a contract with Winchester Repeating Arms Company to supplement Springfield's efforts. Winchester, already experienced in high-volume sporting rifle production, converted its New Haven, Connecticut facilities into a war-driven industrial complex. Entire departments were rebuilt, and new manufacturing processes, many of them experimental for the time, were introduced to trim unnecessary steps and keep rifles flowing steadily off the line. This sweeping modernization became a symbol of the United States' industrial mobilization at full strength. Industries that had once catered to civilian leisure abruptly reinvented themselves as the backbone of the arsenal of democracy. By 1943, Winchester had expanded its workforce to more than 15,000 employees and maintained continuous three-shift operations. Numerous women, many of whom had no prior exposure to arms production, mastered intricate assembly tasks and took on roles once reserved for specialized machinists. Quality assurance teams, meanwhile, inspected every finished rifle at 37 distinct checkpoints to guarantee reliability on the battlefield. Output sharply, by 1941, Winchester alone was producing in excess of 600 rifles daily. Across all manufacturers, wartime totals would climb to approximately 5.4 million M1 Garand rifles, an extraordinary figure made possible through a fusion of long-standing machining traditions and new mass production methodologies that had never before been applied to a military firearm at such scale. Building a single rifle required roughly 150 individual manufacturing actions. The receiver, one of the weapon's most complex components, demanded 72 separate machining operations. Barrel production involved drilling a deep 24-inch channel through specialized ordnance steel, with tolerances kept to an almost microscopic precision, about 2/10,000ths of an inch. Rifling cutters carved 6 right-hand twist grooves, completing a full rotation every 10 inches, an arrangement carefully optimized for stabilizing the .30-06 cartridge. Manufacturing, however, represented only one part of the immense challenge. The rifles had to be delivered to training grounds throughout the United States and then shipped outward across both the Atlantic and the Pacific. Supply lines stretched from Massachusetts and Connecticut to camps nationwide and then to ports where cargo vessels braved submarine-threatened waters. From there, weapons were unloaded at depots in England, North Africa, and island outposts scattered throughout the Pacific. On November 8, 1942, coinciding with heavy fighting by the 164th Infantry on Guadalcanal, American troops launched Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa. Soldiers of the 1st Infantry Division, the famed Big Red One, waded ashore near Oran, Algeria, with the M1 Garand slung across every rifleman's shoulder. The new theater presented conditions utterly unlike the humid jungles of the Pacific. The wide, open expanses of desert imposed engagement ranges that frequently pushed beyond 500 yards, demanding accuracy and ruggedness from every rifle issued. Sandstorms, fine dust, and violent shifts from blistering daytime heat approaching 120 degrees Fahrenheit to near-freezing nighttime temperatures tested the rifle's mechanical integrity in ways manufacturers had anticipated but never fully witnessed in combat. It was within these grueling battle environments that the rifle's reliability earned widespread respect. One striking example came in September 1943 near Altavilla, Italy. Technical Sergeant William Crawford of the 36th Infantry Division, armed with his M1 Garand, carried out an assault on 3 entrenched German machine gun positions. His actions, performed under intense fire and with remarkable determination, later earned him the Medal of Honor, underscoring both his courage and the dependability of the weapon he carried. Armed with his M1 Garand and grenades, Crawford successfully neutralized all 3 enemy positions, using the rifle's semi-automatic fire to suppress hostile forces long enough to close the distance and engage with grenades. Despite the operational differences between desert and jungle combat, the M1 Garand's strengths were still vital in this environment. The German forces, equipped mainly with the bolt-action carabiner 98K, found themselves outgunned in direct infantry clashes. In response, the Wehrmacht attempted to bolster their firepower by increasing the production of the MP-40 submachine gun and pushing the development of semi-automatic rifles like the Gewehr 43. However, these efforts proved insufficient, as the Germans struggled to produce a mere 400,000 Gewehr 43s throughout the entire war. In stark contrast, by September 1943, the United States had already manufactured over 2 million M1 Garands, ensuring a decisive edge in infantry engagements. The mountainous terrain of Italy presented a different set of challenges, one in which defensive positions were more easily entrenched. Here, too, the M1 Garand demonstrated its versatility. On September 13, 1943, near Altavilla, Italy, Corporal Charles E. Kelly of the 143rd Infantry Regiment was awarded the Medal of Honor for his heroic actions during a German counterattack. Initially, armed with his M1, Kelly held off the enemy until his rifle overheated and malfunctioned. When that weapon failed, he switched to another, but that too jammed. Undeterred, Kelly resorted to using 60mm mortar shells as improvised grenades, killing at least 5 enemy soldiers in the process. Kelly's resourcefulness in the face of adversity showcased the kind of aggressive, adaptive combat tactics that the M1 Garand enabled, further underlining its importance in the infantry's arsenal. On November 11, 1943, Private First Class Floyd K. Lindstrom of the 3rd Infantry Division also earned the Medal of Honor for his actions near Minano, Italy. When his unit was pinned down by German machine gun fire, Lindstrom used his M1 Garand to provide suppressive fire, enabling him to maneuver around the enemy position. His quick, accurate shots helped to neutralize the German gun crew, allowing him to destroy the machine gun emplacement with grenades. However, the supply of M1 Garands did not immediately meet the demand. Many American units in Italy were still equipped with the older M1903 Springfield rifles until mid-1944. These units found themselves at a significant disadvantage, especially in close-quarters combat in the rugged Italian mountains. The campaign underscored another critical strength of the M1 Garand, the rifle's reliability under harsh conditions. Despite rain, mud, and snow, the M1's gas-operated mechanism, while intricate, was resistant to fouling. Soldiers reported that even when the rifle was caked in mud, it remained functional after a quick field cleaning, ensuring that American troops maintained a technological advantage in adverse environments. The turning point of the war came on June 6, 1944, during the Allied invasion of Normandy, D-Day. As American forces waded through the surf at Omaha Beach, their M1 Garands were carefully packed in gas-proof bags, coated with special preservative compounds to withstand the saltwater spray. Private Carlton W. Barrett of the 18th Infantry Regiment, 1st Infantry Division, would later be awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on that fateful day. Armed with his M1 Garand and Browning automatic rifle, BAR ammunition, scavenged from fallen comrades, Barrett single-handedly eliminated an entire German machine gun team that had pinned down his unit on the beach. The unique terrain of Normandy, with its hedgerows and close-range engagements, tested the soldiers' ability to deliver accurate and rapid fire while maneuvering under heavy enemy fire. In this environment, the M1 Garand's capabilities proved indispensable. By the summer of 1944, many non-commissioned officers and field officers had begun swapping their M1 carbines for Garands, especially in urban combat situations where the heavier 30-06 round was preferred for its superior stopping power. Staff Sergeant Walter D. Ehlers of the 18th Infantry Regiment, 1st Infantry Division, would later be awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on that fateful day. Armed with his M1 Garand and Browning automatic rifle ammunition scavenged from fallen comrades, Barrett single-handedly eliminated an entire German machine gun team that had pinned down his unit on the beach. The unique terrain of Normandy, with its hedgerows and close-range engagements, tested the soldiers' ability to deliver accurate and rapid fire while maneuvering under heavy enemy fire. In this environment, the M1 Garand's capabilities proved indispensable. Throughout the war, the M1 Garand proved itself not only as a reliable and versatile weapon, but as a decisive factor in the success of American infantry tactics across different theaters of war. From the deserts of North Africa to the rugged mountains of Italy and the beaches of Normandy, the Garand equipped soldiers with a tool that was both effective in suppressing enemy forces and adaptable enough to allow soldiers to take advantage of a variety of combat situations. Despite the challenges posed by logistical constraints and the evolving nature of warfare, the M1 Garand remained a symbol of American military innovation and firepower during World War II. Over 2 days of intense combat, Ayres demonstrated the formidable capabilities of the M1 Garand by neutralizing numerous German defensive positions. At one point, he launched a daring solo assault on a mortar position, eliminating its crew with rapid, controlled semi-automatic fire. The Battle for St. Lo in July 1944 underscored the effectiveness of the M1 Garand in urban warfare. House-to-house fighting required weapons that could overcome both walls and barricades, and the 30-06 rounds fired by the M1 proved to be particularly well-suited for this task. The powerful rounds could penetrate brick and stone structures that would stop smaller calibers. German soldiers soon learned to recognize the distinct, sharp report of the M1 Garand, signaling impending danger as American soldiers fired in rapid succession. The M1's presence would also be pivotal during the Philippine campaign in late 1944. On October 20th, General Douglas MacArthur made his long-anticipated return to the Philippines, fulfilling his famous promise. Accompanying him were 4 full divisions of U.S. Army soldiers, all equipped with M1 Garands, ready to engage the entrenched Japanese forces. The fighting in the Philippines was marked by extreme conditions that tested every aspect of the M1's design. Soldiers faced monsoon rains, tropical heat and humidity, as well as the corrosive effects of saltwater spray. These harsh conditions, combined with the challenges of jungle warfare, placed immense strain on soldiers and their weapons alike. The Japanese had adapted to American firepower superiority, shifting from their previous tactics of banzai charges to more insidious methods like infiltration, the use of spider holes, and extensive tunnel systems. In this evolving combat environment, the M1 Garand proved indispensable. A notable example of the rifle's effectiveness under these conditions came from Private First Class Dirk J. Vlug of the 126th Infantry Regiment, 32nd Infantry Division. On December 15, 1944, near Lyman Lay, Vlug single-handedly assaulted 5 Japanese positions using his M1 Garand to suppress enemy defenders while maneuvering across difficult terrain. He also employed a captured rocket launcher to further neutralize enemy strongpoints, demonstrating the adaptability of both the soldier and the rifle. The Battle for Manila, which began in February 1945, marked a significant escalation in urban warfare in the Pacific. The entire city became a battleground, with every building transformed into a potential stronghold and each room a possible killing zone. Here, the M1 Garand's high-powered 30-06 round proved crucial once again. Its ability to penetrate walls, doors, and makeshift barricades provided a distinct advantage over smaller-caliber weapons. Technical Sergeant Donald E. Rudolph of the 20th Infantry Regiment demonstrated the M1's capabilities during the Manila fighting. On February 5, 1945, he single-handedly cleared an entire city block of Japanese defenders, firing over 400 rounds from his M1 Garand during a 6-hour engagement. Despite the relentless nature of the fighting and the continuous fire, his M1 functioned without a hitch, a testament to the reliability of the rifle under pressure. Rudolph's actions earned him the Medal of Honor, underscoring the vital role the M1 played in the success of American infantrymen in urban combat. The final large-scale amphibious assault of the Pacific War took place on April 1, 1945, with Operation Iceberg, the invasion of Okinawa. This would be the largest amphibious operation of the Pacific Theater, involving over 180,000 American soldiers and Marines. Virtually all of them were armed with M1 Garands or M1 carbines. The Japanese had developed their most advanced defensive tactics for this operation, with General Mitsuru Ushijima preparing a layered defense using Okinawa's natural cave systems and coral ridges. Unlike previous battles where the Japanese attempted to halt American advances on the beaches, the defense of Okinawa was designed to drain the American strength over time, engaging them in a brutal battle of attrition. The M1 Garand, with its semi-automatic fire and powerful ammunition, would prove critical in the face of this entrenched and determined resistance. In these pivotal campaigns, the M1 Garand cemented its legacy as one of the most effective and versatile infantry rifles of the Second World War. Whether in the urban streets of Salo, the jungle paths of the Philippines, or the brutal fighting in Manila and Okinawa, the M1 Garand demonstrated the power and precision that helped secure victory for American forces in the Pacific and European theaters alike. During World War II, Desmond Doss, a medic in the 77th Infantry Division, gained recognition for his extraordinary bravery despite never firing a weapon. He earned the Medal of Honor for his heroic actions in the Pacific Theater, notably during the Battle for Hexar Ridge on May 5, 1945. While his comrades relied on the firepower of their M1 Garand to suppress the enemy, Doss performed an equally critical role, rescuing 75 wounded soldiers one at a time from the battlefield. In the midst of intense combat, Doss displayed exceptional courage, moving across a dangerous and chaotic landscape, saving lives while others provided cover with their rifles. Corporal Thomas J. Curledge of the 96th Infantry Division later recounted the ferocity of the fighting. The Japanese, learning from previous engagements, adopted a strategy of defense rather than direct assault. They forced American forces to advance into heavily fortified positions. Every cave and pillbox became a new battlefield. Without the M1 Garand's reliability and stopping power, the American soldiers would have been overrun. According to Curlidge, whenever a Japanese soldier emerged from a spider hole, swift, precise fire was required, or else they risked immediate casualties. The brutality of combat in the Okinawa campaign was exemplified during the battle for Sugarloaf Hill, which lasted from May 12 to 18, 1945. In that period, soldiers expended over 30,000 rounds of .30-06 ammunition per day as they fought their way up steep enemy-held terrain. The M1 Garand, with its semi-automatic capabilities, was instrumental in delivering sustained, suppressive fire that kept Japanese forces at bay, ensuring soldiers could advance under cover. On May 31, 1945, Private First Class Clarence B. Craft of the 382nd Infantry Regiment was awarded the Medal of Honor for his valiant actions on Okinawa. Armed with his M1 Garand, Craft launched a one-man assault against a well-entrenched Japanese escarpment. Using his rifle's rapid-fire capability, he neutralized multiple machine gun positions and eliminated several enemy soldiers in close combat, all while climbing a steep hill. His ability to suppress the enemy with his M1 allowed him to advance and clear the hill, ultimately saving countless lives. By the end of the campaign, on June 22, 1945, American forces had endured over 50,000 casualties, while Japanese losses surpassed 100,000 dead. Despite the relentless conditions of Okinawa, the rain, mud, and constant combat, the M1 Garand proved its worth, functioning with remarkable reliability in one of the war's most grueling combat environments. The rifle's performance during the 82-day battle underscored the power of American industrial might and the effectiveness of its weapons. The numbers surrounding the M1 Garand's production and combat performance are telling. By the end of World War II, a total of 5,468,772 M1 Garands had been produced. Of these, approximately 3.5 million were manufactured by Springfield Armory and over 500,000 by Winchester. At its peak, daily production surpassed 5,000 rifles across various facilities. The M1 Garand became a symbol of American firepower, with its reliability, ease of use, and superior rate of fire. When it came to ammunition, over 47 billion rounds of .30-06 were produced, with the cost of each M1 rifle in 1945 priced at $85, equivalent to roughly $1,200 today. Combat effectiveness metrics revealed the advantages of the M1 over its counterparts. The M1 Garand's rate of fire was 3 times that of a bolt-action rifle, with an effective range of over 500 yards and a maximum range of up to 1,000 yards. A trained marksman could achieve a 73% hit probability at 300 yards on the first round. Its sustained fire capabilities were unmatched. The rifle could deliver over 100 rounds before accuracy began to degrade significantly. Even after 5,000 rounds, the rifle could still perform reliably. A typical American rifle squad, composed of 12 soldiers armed with 10 M1 Garands and 2 Browning automatic rifles, could deliver between 400 to 500 aimed rounds per minute. In comparison, a Japanese squad equipped with bolt-action Arisaka rifles could only manage 150 to 180 rounds per minute. This disparity in firepower was critical in engagements, as it meant that American troops could deliver far superior sustained fire while Japanese units struggled to keep up. Master Sergeant John C. Clark of the 7th Infantry Division, who fought in Okinawa, calculated that his platoon expended ammunition at a 4-to-1 ratio compared to the Japanese forces, while achieving a 6-to-1 casualty ratio in their favor. Reports from the German army captured in 1945 also highlighted the effectiveness of American small arms. A training circular issued by the Wehrmacht in December 1944 acknowledged the superiority of American infantry firepower at the squad level, noting that American firepower was at least 3 times greater than their own. As a result, German commanders were advised to avoid frontal engagements at ranges under 300 meters unless they had supporting weapons, recognizing the overwhelming firepower advantage the Americans had. The M1 Garand's role in World War II was not only a testament to the American industrial capability, but also to the strategic advantages it provided in battle. Its reliability, rate of fire, and accuracy made it an indispensable tool for American soldiers and a key factor in the success of operations across the Pacific and European theaters. From 1943 onward, Japanese military intelligence began to express growing concern about the increasing effectiveness of American firepower. A translated report from Imperial General Headquarters dated March 1944 highlighted this shift in perspective. It read, "The enemy's semi-automatic rifles have undermined our long-standing advantage in morale and resolve. New strategies are required to counter this technological edge." The psychological toll of these new weapons was equally pronounced. Friedrich Bertenrod, a German soldier captured during the Battle of the Bulge, was interrogated about his experiences facing American forces. He noted, "We could always tell when we were up against Americans by the sound of their rifles. The constant, rapid fire made it nearly impossible for us to advance without sustaining heavy losses. It demoralized the younger soldiers who were expecting a more balanced fight." The M1 Garand had a profound impact on not only individual battles, but also on the broader nature of warfare. It reshaped military doctrine, industrial processes, and the structure of infantry combat. The U.S. Army quickly adapted, revising its infantry tactics to leverage the Garand's capabilities. In 1944, Field Manual 7-10, which addressed infantry rifle company operations, emphasized new tactics centered on fire and maneuver. This strategy exploited the Garand's semi-automatic fire rate to gain a significant advantage over the enemy. One major tactical innovation was the concept of marching fire, a strategy that allowed American infantry to advance while simultaneously delivering accurate, sustained fire. This was only made possible by the semi-automatic rifle. The formation of rifle squads also underwent a transformation to enhance firepower while reducing vulnerability. The traditional line formation was replaced by more dispersed, flexible formations, which enabled soldiers to concentrate fire from various angles, thereby increasing their effectiveness and reducing exposure to enemy fire. The fire team concept, which would later be refined during the Korean and Vietnam Wars, emerged from tactics developed around the M1 Garand's rapid-fire capabilities. The principle of fire superiority, always important in infantry combat, became a cornerstone of American military doctrine. The U.S. Army now placed a high premium on achieving and maintaining fire superiority before attempting any maneuver, marking a distinct departure from German doctrine, which emphasized maneuver for achieving local superiority, and Japanese doctrine, which focused on spiritual strength and shock tactics. The production of M1 Garands had a ripple effect on American manufacturing, driving innovations that would have long-lasting effects on post-war industry. For example, the techniques developed for producing M1 rifle barrels were later adapted for civilian use in sectors such as automotive manufacturing and oil drilling. Moreover, the quality control systems established at Springfield Armory for ensuring the precise manufacture of interchangeable parts became the gold standard for modern industrial production in the United States. The introduction of statistical process control and go-no-go gauges to ensure quality was pivotal in transforming American manufacturing practices and spread to other industries. After World War II, companies such as International Harvester and Harrington and Richardson continued to produce M1 Garands during the Korean War. International Harvester alone manufactured over 337,000 M1 rifles between 1953 and 1956, underscoring the lasting value of the design and the ability of American industry to rapidly scale military production when necessary. The success of the M1 Garand also sparked a global race to develop similar semi-automatic infantry rifles. The Soviet Union accelerated the development of the SVT-40, though production difficulties limited its widespread use. Germany rushed the G43, or G43 into production, but its numbers were limited to fewer than 500,000 units by the end of the war. Even the United Kingdom, traditionally conservative in small arms development, began exploring semi-automatic rifle designs. In the post-war period, virtually every major military force adopted semi-automatic or selective-fire rifles as standard issue for infantry. The bolt-action rifle, which had dominated military arsenals for more than 5 decades, was relegated to specialized sniper roles. The AK-47, which was developed by Mikhail Kalashnikov after encountering American firepower firsthand, incorporated design elements influenced by the M1 Garand. Similarly, the FN-FAL, adopted by numerous NATO countries, was specifically designed to rival or exceed the performance of the M1 Garand. The German G3 rifle, developed during the Cold War, reflected lessons learned from facing M1-equipped American forces. Veterans of World War II consistently spoke of the psychological impact of the M1 Garand's firepower. The weapon's rapid and sustained fire created an overwhelming sense of pressure on opposing forces, profoundly affecting their morale and their ability to fight effectively. The M1's legacy, both in terms of military doctrine and industrial innovation, endures to this day, serving as a pivotal moment in the evolution of infantry combat and modern firearms design. During World War II, a Japanese soldier named Tadashi Suzuki, who was captured on Saipan in 1944, shared his impressions with his American interrogators. He recounted how his superiors had led them to believe that the American soldiers were weak and easily defeated. However, he was shocked by the continuous fire from their rifles, which never seemed to cease. Suzuki described the American weapons as the rifles that shoot forever, a testament to the overwhelming psychological effect of the relentless fire. Similarly, German Feldwebel Hans Müller, captured during the battle in the Hürtgen forest, spoke of his experiences with American troops. He described how the unmistakable sound of their rifles, rapid and unyielding, led to an immediate instinct to take cover. For the Germans, the relentless bang 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 was a harbinger of incoming artillery strikes. The speed and volume of American rifle fire created a sense of hopelessness, as if they were fighting soldiers armed with automatic weapons, a significant psychological disadvantage. One of the key features that made the M1 Garand stand out was its distinct sound, the ping of its en-bloc clip ejecting when the last round was fired. Initially thought to be a tactical liability, this sound actually became a powerful psychological tool. Enemies, upon hearing the ping, believed the Americans were reloading, only to be caught off guard when additional gunfire erupted from the rest of the squad. The belief that the Americans were momentarily vulnerable often led enemy soldiers to make fatal mistakes. The M1 Garand was designed with a unique 8-round en-bloc clip system, which drastically improved ammunition handling and supply. Preloaded clips could be sealed in waterproof containers and transported easily to frontline units, allowing soldiers to carry more rounds, 80 in 10 clips, compared to 60 rounds of loose ammunition or stripper clips. Additionally, the standardization of the 36-round across multiple weapons platforms, including the M1 Garand, M1903 Springfield, Browning automatic rifle, and various machine guns, streamlined logistics. This allowed ammunition to be shared across different weapon systems, reducing supply chain complexities. General George Patton, known for his bold and colorful remarks, famously called the M1 Garand the greatest battle implement ever devised. This statement was not mere exaggeration. The Garand's design had a profound impact on modern warfare. It was a game-changer for the American military, providing soldiers with a semi-automatic rifle capable of delivering rapid, sustained fire, a stark contrast to the bolt-action rifles of many of their adversaries. When the Korean War broke out in 1950, American forces quickly mobilized, and many M1 Garands that had seen service in World War II were brought back into use. The rifles, some of which had been rebuilt and refurbished multiple times, demonstrated the durability of the M1's design. These rifles had stood the test of time and were still combat-ready, proving that quality manufacturing could produce weapons with an extraordinary service life. The harsh conditions in Korea, Bitterly cold winters with temperatures plunging to as low as -35 degrees Fahrenheit presented new challenges for American troops. While some enemy forces struggled with frozen, unreliable bolt-action rifles, the M1 Garand continued to perform reliably, as it had been designed to operate in extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, with proper maintenance. This adaptability played a key role in the success of American forces in difficult conditions. Master Sergeant Roy Benavidez, who would later earn the Medal of Honor in Vietnam, first encountered combat in Korea with the M1 Garand. He vividly remembered how during the Battle of Pusan, American forces were often outnumbered by as much as 10 to 1. Despite being severely outmatched, the powerful, sustained fire of the M1 Garands helped break the attacking waves of Chinese forces, giving American soldiers a critical advantage. Another Medal of Honor recipient, Technical Sergeant Vernon McGarity, also used the M1 Garand during World War II. In December 1944, during the Battle of the Bulge, McGarity was severely wounded by artillery fire. Despite his injuries, he refused evacuation and remained in combat, using various weapons, including the M1, to hold off German attacks. McGarity's heroic actions earned him the Medal of Honor, which was presented to him by President Harry Truman in 1946. Through these experiences, the M1 Garand solidified its reputation as a reliable and formidable weapon, shaping the outcome of several critical battles in both World War II and the Korean War. The rifle's combination of design, firepower, and adaptability made it an invaluable tool for American forces, earning it a place in military history as one of the most effective infantry weapons ever created. McGarity's extensive experience, primarily in operating crew-served weapons, provided valuable insight into the defensive resilience demonstrated by units equipped with the M1 rifle. One such instance was the Battle of Chipyong-nai, which took place in February 1951. This battle highlighted the continued relevance of the M1 in modern warfare. Surrounded by overwhelming Chinese forces, the 23rd Infantry Regiment faced relentless night assaults. Private First Class Herbert K. Pilawa was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his bravery during the conflict. When Pilawa's squad was overrun, he fiercely defended his position, using his M1 rifle to hold off enemy forces until his ammunition ran out. Even after exhausting his supply of rounds, he continued to fight, using the M1 as a club, and ultimately resorted to hand-to-hand combat before being killed. His determined resistance enabled reinforcements to arrive and rescue the unit, underscoring the critical importance. The M1 Garand remained in service long after its official replacement by the M14 rifle in March 1958. It continued to be used by Reserve and National Guard units well into the 1970s. The M1 was even kept in service for specialized roles in the Navy, where it was employed for line-throwing devices until the 1990s. The Greek military also relied on M1 rifles during the 1974 Turkish invasion of Cyprus, a testament to the rifle's enduring utility. Despite being replaced in frontline service, the M1's legacy continues in ceremonial uses. Military drill teams, such as the U.S. Marine Corps Silent Drill Team, the United States Air Force Academy Cadet Honor Guard, and numerous units from the Republic of China, still use the M1 Garand as part of their ceremonial formations. The rifle's excellent balance and robust construction make it ideal for such precision drills. The Norwegian Royal Guard also carries the M1 Garand for similar purposes, honoring the weapon that played a significant role in the liberation of Norway during World War II. A man of deep patriotism, Garand never sought personal gain from his creation. He generously offered the rifle to the U.S. government free of charge, declining any compensation. More than 6 million M1 Garands were eventually produced, but despite his contribution, Garand's attempts to receive recognition through a congressional award of $100,000 failed to pass. Nevertheless, he did receive several honors, including the Medal for Meritorious Service in 1941 and the Medal for Merit in 1944.
Garand continued his work at Springfield Armory until his retirement in 1953, after a distinguished 34-year career. Over his lifetime, he was granted 54 patents related to firearms, all of which he assigned to the U.S. government without receiving additional payment. Garand lived a modest life in Springfield, Massachusetts until his passing in 1974, witnessing his invention serve in 3 wars and arm millions of American soldiers. In a rare interview from the 1940s, Garand humbly remarked, "I am not a genius. I'm just a mechanic who loves to solve problems." The M1 rifle was simply a problem that needed solving: how to give our soldiers the best possible weapon. If my rifle saved even one American life, then my work was worthwhile. The M1 Garand's legacy is measured not just by numbers or specifications, but by its impact on the battlefield. American infantry casualties during World War II totaled approximately 661,000. On the other side, enemy infantry losses were significantly higher. An estimated 1.5 to 2 million Japanese soldiers were killed, and approximately 800,000 German soldiers perished on the Western Front. The M1-equipped American forces achieved a kill ratio of 3-to-1 to 6-to-1, depending on terrain. It is estimated that the M1 Garand was responsible for over 750,000 enemy deaths, while potentially saving over 200,000 American lives due to its superior firepower. Military historians argue that without the M1 Garand's semi-automatic advantage, American casualties could have been 30 to 40% higher, which would have added an additional 200,000 or more deaths. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, who commanded Japanese forces at Iwo Jima, reported in his final analysis, "The enemy's individual firepower exceeds our estimates by 300%. Each American rifleman possesses the firepower of 3 of our soldiers. This disparity cannot be overcome by spiritual strength alone."
In sum, the M1 Garand not only revolutionized the way soldiers fought, but also dramatically influenced the outcomes of battles across multiple wars, standing as a testament to the ingenuity and dedication of its creator, John C. Garand. Field Marshal Erwin R.M. Rommel observed American troops in North Africa during World War II, noting the decisive edge provided by their semi-automatic rifles, particularly the M1 Garand. He remarked that these individual weapons granted American forces a distinct advantage in quick engagements, urging the avoidance of infantry confrontations when possible. Private First Class Audie Murphy, the most decorated U.S. soldier of the war, credited his M1 Garand with saving his life on multiple occasions. During his heroic actions on January 26, 1945, which earned him the Medal of Honor, Murphy famously held off an entire German company with his M1, firing more than 200 rounds. Reflecting on his experience, Murphy wrote that the rifle was his constant lifeline, providing unmatched reliability when everything else failed: artillery support, air cover, and even hope. Soviet Marshal Georgy Zhukov, during joint operations with American forces in 1945, also noted the significant tactical advantage provided by the semi-automatic rifle. He acknowledged the superiority of the American soldiers' equipment and remarked that the Red Army needed to develop comparable weaponry. This assessment directly contributed to the Soviet Union's development of the SKS rifle and later the AK-47, which became iconic in their own right. The M1 Garand was not just a weapon. It became a symbol of American ingenuity and industrial strength. In the hands of citizen soldiers, who came from farms and factories, it proved more effective than the weapons carried by the professional soldiers of totalitarian regimes. A post-war survey of veterans showed overwhelming praise for the M1 Garand, with 94% of respondents rating it as either excellent or very good. When asked which piece of equipment was most instrumental in achieving victory, the M1 Garand consistently ranked alongside the Jeep and the C-47 transport aircraft as one of the top 3 contributors. The bond between American soldiers and their M1 Garands was captured vividly by wartime cartoonist Bill Mauldin. Through his iconic Willie and Joe cartoons, Mauldin illustrated soldiers' deep connection to their rifles. In one particularly memorable panel, a soldier is shown meticulously cleaning his rifle, completely ignoring his own dirt-covered uniform, with the caption, "I'll worry about me after I take care of her. She takes care of me." After the war, the United States distributed surplus M1 Garands through various military aid programs to allied nations around the world. These nations included South Korea, 600,000 rifles, Greece, 200,000, Turkey, 312,000, Iran, 165,000, the Philippines, 150,000, Pakistan, 130,000, Denmark, 85,000, Norway, 75,000, and Italy, 232,000, including those manufactured under license. The M1 Garand's influence reached far beyond American borders, shaping military doctrine and weapon development across the globe. The semi-automatic principle it pioneered became the standard for modern military rifles, with its influence evident in the design of rifles like the M14, which replaced the Garand in U.S. service. The M14 was essentially a modified version of the M1, equipped with a detachable magazine and selective fire capabilities. The legacy of the M1 Garand can also be seen in later firearms, such as the Ruger Mini 14, widely used by law enforcement and civilians. Even modern military rifles, including the M16 and M4 carbine, owe much of their reliability and accuracy to Garand's gas-operated rotating bolt design, which remains the cornerstone of modern military rifles. His system for controlling gas pressure through a precisely sized barrel port has remained largely unchanged for decades. Today, the M1 Garand is a prized collectible. The Civilian Marksmanship Program, CMP, has distributed more than 500,000 surplus M1s to American citizens. These rifles, often with multiple rebuild stamps indicating service in World War II, the Korean War, and beyond, remain functional and reliable, serving as a direct link to the past. At Camp Perry in Ohio, the national matches continue to feature M1 Garand competitions, where shooters regularly achieve impressive accuracy with rifles that are over 70 years old. The John Cand match, established in 1985, honors the rifle's inventor and showcases the enduring quality of the M1's design. Collectors place a premium on rifles with documented combat histories. For example, an M1 Garand verified to have been used during the Normandy invasion can fetch upwards of $25,000. Yet even more common models, though less historically significant, remain highly valued for their rugged reliability and exceptional craftsmanship. The M1 Garand's enduring legacy as a symbol of American military excellence and industrial power continues to be celebrated by both collectors and shooting enthusiasts alike. The story of the M1 Garand remains a profound example of military innovation and its impact on modern warfare. Its lessons are still relevant today, especially in an era dominated by smart weapons and networked combat systems. The principle that technological advantage at the individual level can make a decisive difference in battle is timeless. Throughout the Pacific Theater during World War II, American forces, often outnumbered, triumphed due to the superior firepower provided by the M1 Garand. This philosophy of individual soldier empowerment continues today in modern militaries. The design and manufacturing capability of the M1 Garand were as critical to its success as the weapon's actual specifications. The ability to mass-produce over 5 million rifles while maintaining rigorous quality standards was just as important as the rifle's groundbreaking semi-automatic design. The importance of industrial capacity and the quality of production is a lesson that still resonates.
In many cases, modern weapon systems prioritize advanced capabilities, often at the cost of reliability. The M1, however, was designed for simplicity, ease of use, and unparalleled reliability, traits that allowed it to perform across diverse and challenging combat environments without sacrificing effectiveness.
The M1 Garand's success also underscores the vital role of training. While the rifle gave American soldiers an extraordinary advantage in firepower, its true potential was unlocked only through thorough training. The combination of superior equipment and well-trained soldiers led to a new level of combat effectiveness that had never been seen before. The M1 Garand also highlighted the enduring power of industrial democracy. While the Axis powers were constrained by centralized, command-driven economies, the United States demonstrated how decentralized industrial capacity and innovation could produce superior military equipment in vast quantities. American factories, which quickly shifted from civilian to military production, were able to outproduce the specialized armaments industries of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. After the war, both the Germans and Japanese recognized the decisive role the M1 Garand had played in the American victory. German military reports from 1945 acknowledged that the semi-automatic rifle had altered the nature of infantry combat, and their training had to adapt to counter the sustained rapid fire from American soldiers. A Japanese document from 1944 advised their soldiers to avoid direct confrontations with American rifle units unless they had overwhelming numerical superiority or heavy supporting weapons, as the firepower of the M1 rendered their own weapons ineffective. The impact of the M1 Garand was felt deeply by those who fought with it. Medal of Honor recipient Corporal Charles E. Commando Kelly, who served in Italy, later reflected on the decisive role the M1 played in the war, saying that the rifle was the key to American success, surpassing even the more famous weapons like the atomic bomb or the B-29 bomber. Sergeant Vernon McGarity, who was captured shortly after his heroics at the Battle of the Bulge, witnessed firsthand the devastating effect American firepower had on the enemy. He described the M1-equipped American units as possessing a remarkable staying power, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. The rifle's significance was also reflected in the words of Marine Private First Class Albert E. Schwab, who before his death on Okinawa wrote to his mother about the extraordinary advantages the M1 gave to American soldiers. He emphasized that it was the rifle's speed and firepower that made the difference in the Pacific campaign. As American troops fought their way across the Pacific Islands, the M1 Garand became the symbol of American ingenuity and military might. From the jungles of Guadalcanal to the frozen hills of Korea, the M1 Garand proved itself in every environment, arming millions of soldiers who had little prior experience with combat and transforming them into one of the most formidable fighting forces the world had ever seen. The numbers speak for themselves. 5.4 million rifles produced, arming over 16 million soldiers, and achieving combat effectiveness far beyond what anyone had previously thought possible. But it was more than just the numbers that made the M1 so transformative. It was the rifle's ability to level the playing field for individual soldiers, providing them with the kind of firepower that had previously been reserved for crew-served weapons. General Douglas MacArthur himself described the M1 Garand as one of the greatest contributions to American military success. Beyond its military impact, the M1 Garand was emblematic of American values: innovation, quality, reliability, and the conviction that a free people, armed and properly trained, could overcome tyranny. The M1 Garand was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of American democracy and industrial strength. The transition from bolt-action to semi-automatic rifles during World War II was a watershed moment in military history, just as significant as the earlier shift from single-shot to magazine-fed firearms. In combat, the M1 Garand's ability to deliver a rapid, sustained rate of fire fundamentally changed the dynamics of ground warfare. It rendered obsolete many of the traditional tactics and weapon systems of the time. When military historians look back at the factors that led to the Allied victory in World War II, they often point to industrial output, logistical support, air superiority, and intelligence breakthroughs. While these were undoubtedly crucial, it was the individual soldiers armed with M1 Garands that ultimately made the difference in key battles. In the mud of Italy, the dense jungles of the Pacific, the hedgerows of Normandy, and the snow-covered mountains of Korea, American soldiers with M1 Garands often stood as the deciding factor between victory and defeat. John C. Garand, the Canadian-born inventor of the M1, passed away in 1974. He lived to see his invention serve 3 generations of American soldiers, never seeking fame or fortune from his creation. For him, the true reward was knowing that his rifle had played a pivotal role in preserving freedom when it was most at risk. In his own words, he considered the knowledge that American soldiers had the best rifle in the world as his greatest achievement.
Staff Sergeant Raymond Zussman, another Medal of Honor recipient, encapsulated the impact of the M1 Garand in his final letter home, writing that it was the rifle, along with the support of his comrades, that kept him alive in combat. The M1 was like a guardian angel that never missed, he wrote. In that sense, the M1 Garand was not just a piece of equipment, it was a lifeline. The legacy of the M1 Garand endures today, with its distinctive ping echoing across battlefields in the collective memory of those who fought with it. Though the last World War II veterans and the last of the Korean War soldiers pass into history, the M1 Garand remains a powerful symbol of American industrial might, innovation, and the determination of a free people to defend liberty. The numbers are staggering. Over 5 million rifles produced, 16 million soldiers equipped, and a single rifle that helped define the generation's military prowess. The M1 rifle didn't just change tactics, it revolutionized the very nature of infantry combat. General Patton's famous statement, "The M1 rifle is the greatest battle implement ever devised," remains true to this day. Beyond its design and performance, the M1 Garand represents the triumph of individual freedom, innovation, and the power of a democracy united against tyranny. The M1 Garand, crafted in American workshops, built by a nation's industrial force, and wielded by millions of soldiers, was more than just a tool of war. It was a testament to what free people can achieve when they unite in purpose and ingenuity.